Cape Talk.
Fabulous life.
Now, I hope the music fans have their ears pricked today for a number of different reasons. Firstly, huge relief for me and many other parents who got the Bad Mom of the Year award for not managing to get Ed Sheeran tickets. A second Cape Town show has been added to the tour next year. It's going to be the 28th of March. If you're wanting to book, bookings open on Thursday this week, the 15th of November. Let's just hope, fingers crossed, that CompuTicket manages the traffic this time and everybody like me who was disappointed last time can get hold of some tickets for Ed Sheeran. The second thing I want to tell you about is a reminder about the series of free live music concerts which are running at the V&A Waterfronts Amphitheatre. They've sent us the details of the upcoming events for the rest of November, and this coming Friday, Vuvu Khumalo will be singing, I should say, at the amphitheatre at 7 p.m. Absolutely gorgeous, deep, soulful voice. She's performed at the likes of Jazz on the Rocks and many other big jazz events in Cape Town. She is singing at the Waterfront Amphitheatre this Friday, the 16th of November at 7 p.m. There is a session on Saturday evening as well, featuring Glenn Hartman and Camisa, also at 7 o'clock. And then it continues through the month of November over the weekend. So check out the V&A Waterfront Facebook page and website for more information. But heads up that there are concerts this weekend, Friday and Saturday night at 7 p.m. For many of you, though, the big concert of the week is coming this evening at the Grand West Grand Arena, when the international supergroup Divo will be taking to the stage as part of their 15th anniversary concert tour. It's hard to believe it's been that long since Simon Cowell put together this group. You may recall the history. Back in 2003, he was inspired by the success of the Three Tenors and had the idea to do something similar, get some young singers from different countries and different backgrounds, put them together to form a quartet who would hopefully emulate the success the Three Tenors had enjoyed, particularly in the classical crossover space. And boy, did he get it right, because here we are 15 years later, 30 million albums plus sold, adoring fans all over the world, a good few of them here in Cape Town, and I hope they've already got their tickets to see you tonight. David Miller is the lyric tenor at Divo and one of the four, Californian, I think, if I'm not mistaken. David, welcome to Cape Talk and welcome to Cape Town.
Hi there, how are you going?
Very well, thanks. How are you? Is it your first trip to Cape Town?
It's not our first trip to Cape Town. We were here once in 2012.
Okay, so welcome back to Cape Town, I should say. Then. David, you're one of four. The others are the Spanish baritone Carlos Marin, Swiss tenor Urs Bühler, and French singer-songwriter Sebastian Isambard. I know you were the fourth and final member to be confirmed in the long process of putting the group together. Talk to us a little bit about how rigorous a process it was. How many auditions did you go through, and how much pressure was it before you finally got word that you had been picked for Divo?
Well, it was kind of an arduous process, and the most interesting thing about it, I think, was that I didn't know what it was for.
Tell us more.
I was just showing up to an audition the same way I would show up to an audition for the Met or Covent Garden or whatever. And they said, we want guys to be in a recording project together, and does your voice, what does your voice do? And I sang, opera, and they said, okay, well, we want your opera technique, but you're not going to be singing opera. Are you okay with that? And I'm like, sure, why not? And next thing I knew, I found myself in a studio with the other guys, kind of experimenting with this batch of songs to see if our voices would work together, and that was the most challenging part, really figuring out each other's personalities and each other's voices, and how's this going to work and how's that going to work. But 15 years on, it's like clockwork at this point. All we have to do is pick a batch of songs, and kind of give it our 100%, which is what we always do.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened with this tour and this last album, which we self-produced, called Timeless. And it's just a collection of absolutely gorgeous music, and we've given our spin on these classic songs like from Love Story and from Elvis and even from Adele. We're the first band to cover her version, to make our version of her song Hello.
David, I mean, you talk about that process of sort of finding your harmony, I guess we have to call it, between one another. Now that you've found it and have got to know each other so well and have traveled the world together for so long, does it ever get tired? Does it ever get old? I mean, do you ever go on stage thinking, oh yeah, remote control, close your eyes and do it again as we've done it so many times before? Or is there something that makes it just special every time you step out on a stage together?
Well, I think the latter is what ends up happening most of the time, because we do enjoy singing together, and we do enjoy bringing our music to audiences around the world, and especially coming to South Africa, coming to Cape Town. Our memories of playing here were just simply fantastic, and I think we always run the risk, because it is such a grueling schedule. We're doing 4, 5, sometimes 6 shows a week, going different country, and the body just starts to get tired, and the mind starts to get numb. And what ends up happening is you think, oh, well, we've done this before. And as soon as you go into that mode, that's when it all starts to go sideways because you lose your center. And because if you're not present in every second of every show, you lose your center. You maybe forget a lyric, you maybe forget this or that, or maybe you go out of tune or whatever it is. So it's always a constant reminder for us to be present and be in the moment and be with that audience every night.
Of course, to remind yourself that it might be the 150th time for you, but it's the first time for many of those audience members, and they've waited a long time to see you. So the magic has got to be there. David, I mean, over the years, you've performed at some top events. You've had you performed at the Olympic closing ceremony in London. You performed at the Queen's Diamond Jubilee in the UK. You have collaborated with so many huge names. I guess it must be hard to ask you to pick out highlights, but if I could ask you to name 2 or 3 of the most memorable shows, what would they be?
Well, I think the most memorable show was Madison Square Garden, playing with Barbra Streisand. And she had invited us to come be part of her tour, and she was kind of coming out of retirement and going back on the road, and she asked us to be part of her show, and not just to be like as an opening act, but actually be integrated in part of her show. And she would bring us, halfway through the first act, she would bring us on, we'd do a duet with her, and she'd go, have a tea or a coffee and, change a costume, and we would take the stage for a little while. And you looked out into this sea of faces, and every single face was somebody that you knew from somewhere. There were dignitaries and heads of state and the royalty of Hollywood and the royalty of the music industry and TV and just every row, every seat, seeing these faces, and they're all looking at me, looking at us. And it threatened to be very overwhelming, but they're people just like everybody, and they enjoy music just like everybody, and they had a great time, and it was really so much fun.
David, you look at somebody like Barbra Streisand, 6 decades in the music business. She's still surprising us with carpool karaoke performances and pulling out something new. You look at an artist like that, what is it like for you as a group to say, well, we're 15 years in. Do you look at her career and think, oh, Lord, I hope I'm not doing this in 60 years? Or do you go, that's what we aspire to. I hope that in 60 years we're all still performing together?
Well, I think that kind of question falls under the type of question you asked before of, like, does it get monotonous or does it stay interesting? And I think that's always the challenge. So long as we are continuing to be present, be on the stage, keep ourselves in that moment, because that's where the magic happens. If you're out of the moment, then it doesn't feel like magic, and that's when you want to quit.
Yeah.
But it's up to us. We are the ones who have to take responsibility for keeping ourselves in that moment, good, bad, or indifferent. We have to stay there. And if we want to continue on and continue the success of the group and enjoy this life of traveling around the world and bringing smiles to people's faces, then that's up to us to keep it alive inside. I can't predict the future. I have no idea what's going to happen. But for right here and right now, we're having a great time.
David, a quick question from one of our listeners, Tim, wondering about the name itself. Il Divo, I think, means divine performer. What's the significance of the name?
I mean, technically that's kind of what it translates to. Really, it was just, it was the idea that Simon was bringing 3 opera singers and a pop singer together. And being opera singers, there's a word in opera, but also in pop, the diva.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the word diva, but it's always generally associated with the female, kind of, like a Mariah Carey, or in the opera world, a Joan Sutherland or whatever. It's not really a word that you use for men. You wouldn't say diva. So we kind of coined it by taking the masculine ending in Italian and changing it to Divo. And we did keep it as singular instead of saying like the 4 Divos. We keep it as singular because, there's something magical that happens when our voices come together. Each one of us has our own particular colors and qualities, and each one of us kind of presents our voice in every song. So he takes that part, he takes that part, he takes that part. When we start to mix them together, and when we come into these finales at the end, it's like we're a unified wall of sound that just envelops and takes the whole song and takes the audience to even yet another higher place. And so it's when we combine our voices that the divine magic happens.
Well, I know that the Cape Town audiences are looking forward to hearing that divine magic this evening, David. Final question is, what can they expect from the show?
Well, that's the funny part. You may have heard through the news that the fires that have been happening in California have been ravaging Southern California, and that's where Sebastian and his family live.
Okay.
And they have gone through a devastating tragedy in that they have lost their home.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so Sebastian has temporarily left the tour to go be with his family and to be loving husband, loving father. And so we have, after much deliberation, we were kind of deciding, well, should we cancel, should we carry on? And the decision was taken that we are going to carry on. And so fans tonight are going to get a very unique version of the show. They're going to get myself and Carlos and Urs presenting ourselves and kind of taking over and incorporating what Sebastian would be doing between the 3 of us. And we had to do this in our second performance in Johannesburg to a, we were very nervous, of course, going on and attempting this for the first time. But the audience said, a lot of the fans who've been with us for 15 years, they said they loved it. It was a unique take on it. They miss Sebastian, of course, but they said it was truly enjoyable in its own right. So this is what fans can expect tonight, a very unique version of Il Divo.
Well, David, there are many of your fans on our SMS line and WhatsApp telling me how much they're looking forward to the concert. Really, our thoughts are with Sebastian and his family on that terrible news. Completely understandable that he's taken the decision to go home. And we hope that you have a spectacular evening in Cape Town tonight, regardless of those very difficult circumstances. Thank you so much for chatting to me today.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and we hope to see everybody there.
David Miller, lyric tenor as part of one quarter of Il Divo, so 3 of them on stage at the Grand West Grand Arena. There are a couple of tickets available, not many, but priced from 695 Rand up is what is left if you are interested in booking via CompuTicket. Stella tells